Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography podcast. Today, my guest is Sabrina Sigalas. She is the founder of Sigalas and Company and the associate producer of the Social Movement TV show. How are you doing today, Sabrina?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Brad.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be part of the show. It's great to have you here. How's your day going?
It's Monday, so it's always very busy. But since we've been quarantined in COVID, it's been very difficult to manage both of the kids and try to work.
Yeah.
So just last week, we found ourselves some childcare help for a few days a week. So it's been lovely.
Excellent. I'm sure you've welcomed that.
Yeah.
So you have quite the resume here. I was looking through your bio. You've worked in the advertising world. You started an event planning, management, and design firm, which you've now rebranded to Sigalas and Company. You've been recognized and revered as one of the best in your field. You're an associate producer of the documentary reality show called The Social Movement. You're a mother of two, a wife. Oh, and I also read that you've got real estate on the side. So I have to ask, where in the hell do you find all the time to do all this and wear so many hats? How is it possible?
That's a really good question. You know what? Sometimes I have no idea. It's a lot about compartmentalizing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just kind of like a doer, a go-for-itter. So I'm always driven to do things that I'm passionate about. I mean, one of the things I really like about having so many different jobs or roles is that each of them sort of fulfills a part of me that's a little bit different. Designing and building houses or flipping real estate feels different than crafting messaging for audiences. The event planning is something I've always had a passion for. And really, the associate producer role is almost an extension of that. It's sort of an extension of event planning on a larger scale. You're doing it for cameras, but a lot of sort of what you're doing is similar. So the answer is, I don't know, but I like it, I guess.
You just do it.
Yeah, it happens somehow.
Can you tell me a bit about your career in advertising and why you decided to leave that behind and start your own event planning design company?
Yeah.
And how long were you in advertising?
Yeah, so I started my career in advertising agency side. I went to school for it. I majored in it in university. Even from high school, it was something that I was interested in doing. I really put all my eggs in one basket, so to speak. When I graduated, I went to work at an ad agency, and I worked my way up and worked at bigger and bigger agencies, some of the best in North America. And along with that came that I was working on larger and larger accounts, which should have been a great thing, and it was. But I started to work on brands that I wasn't loving, consumer packaged goods, things like that. I don't want to mention any names.
Right, yeah,
understood. And and I wasn't selling cigarettes. But if I was I would be still sitting in meetings and hearing about, moms, the brief is, moms really want to feel more love. So we're going to show that by serving her kids, fill in the blank of this processed food, so it wasn't like I was doing any harm, but it just started to feel a little bit icky.
Yeah.
And also I went into advertising because I am inherently creative. And when you start to get onto larger accounts and into bigger agencies, and especially when I decided to go into the account services role, because I have a business mind and a creative mind, I sort of can straddle that fence. You get further and further away from the creative. And I found myself just babysitting clients and selling through creative that I didn't necessarily believe in. So that piece of me that I wanted to find in advertising was lacking. Okay. But I was at the same time doing PR for one of the agencies that I worked at, and I started doing event planning for them. So when one of their clients needed an event, they would hand it off to me. And I was really, really good at it. And I guess in hindsight, my first event was probably in high school. I just decided to do a fashion show. Mm-hmm. I was like, let's do a fashion show. And I went to the mall and I basically went to all the stores asking them to give me clothes. I created my own contract. I had lights, music. I had model auditions. I choreographed the whole thing. So I guess it's always kind of been in me.
Yeah.
But anyway, when I started to realize that advertising wasn't where I wanted to be, and I was doing all of the agency events, I decided to launch my own event planning company. And I guess that would have been 2009.
Okay.
So that's sort of when I made the break, and it was really just because I was no longer in love with advertising the way that it was being served up to me.
And you had a flair and a love for event planning.
Yeah, I was really good at it. And I love doing it. I just love doing it.
So how long have you been involved in that world now? How long has Sigalas and Company been in existence? I've read that you rebranded. Your company was called something else previously.
Yes, it was called Perfectionista. And when I started to launch my own company in 2009, I had come up with that name because it was the only thing that would come up when you Googled it.
Okay.
And it just sort of felt very girly, and it felt, I don't know, at the time, I was 28 or 29 years old. It felt good. But I started to take on larger clients, more corporate clients, trade shows, and it just didn't seem to fit. It seemed like a bit of a disconnect for those types of clients.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was also trying to make an umbrella company for the design work that I was doing. And then also when my husband and I would flip houses, some of the staging. So I rebranded a few years ago, I guess, to Sigalas & Co. just to make it a little bit more generic. So any sort of business that I have or project that I have can kind of fit under that banner without conflicting with anything.
Excellent. Thinking far ahead. I love it. What excites you most, or is your favorite part about the event planning and design part?
Yeah, it's different for everything. When I first started doing events, it was, like any of my friends who would let me plan their events or their corporate events, or, would let me do their weddings. And so when I did start doing weddings, I really loved just being a part of someone's day. Like, this was arguably one of the most important days of their life, and it was filled with love and all that. So I really liked that aspect of it. Mm-hmm. But I also love seeing people experience something different. They get to leave their lives, like let's say a corporate event or a gala, they get to leave their lives and enter a space where they will experience whatever we've orchestrated them to experience. I really love that. And it's something, you sort of inject a little bit of newness into people's lives. Mm-hmm. And people are there to have a good time and to connect. So every event has a purpose. And as long as what you're doing aligns with that purpose, then you're succeeding.
Do you have a favorite type of event to deal with, to design?
So for me, it's been the inspirational types of events. Like my most recent event was the Mom Boss Brunch, which was a full day women's empowerment event with speakers and sort of a trade show floor, a little bit of a pop-up market. Yeah. And anything and the feedback we got from that event was, this event changed my life.
Wow.
So having an impact, events with impact are really my favorite. And they're the ones that are really pretty. I really like designing beautiful spaces. Of course.
Well,
yeah.
You are a designer, so
yes.
The aesthetic has to be part of it.
Yes, it was gorgeous.
Where does your inspiration come from when designing an event?
Yeah, so, every event has a different purpose. Mm-hmm. So, is it to inspire people? Is it to connect people? Are we celebrating something? Is it to educate people? So the inspiration really has to derive from the purpose. And so aesthetically, you have to figure out, does the client, what kind of impression does the client want to leave on their guests? What's the purpose? Yeah. And everything sort of stems from that.
Okay. Now, how did the opportunity come, shifting gears a bit here, how did the opportunity come about for the associate producer role on the Social Movement TV show?
Man, I really feel like it was one of those serendipitous moments. One of my speakers from my Mom Boss Brunch event this past November, Lise, actually, I think you've had her as a guest too on your show. Lise is a participant in the social movement.
Okay.
And so I think when she announced she was invited to be on the show, I think I commented on something, and I think that caught their eye. Then they start to creep your Insta, you know what I mean? And then they messaged me, and then I started to creep their Insta. And then it was sort of a flowing conversation from there. I really enjoyed some of the upper management there. We were just speaking the same language, and things seemed to align. So the social movement season 2 is being shot in Montreal. Okay. When the executive producer mentioned that she was going to be there, I said, I'll come meet you. And so I hopped on a plane and went out and met her just to meet face to face, because they're based out of the US.
Yeah.
And we totally hit it off. And you know, when you leave meetings and you just feel energized.
Yes.
Yes. And so that's sort of the feeling I had. And I feel that way many times when I'm on the phone with them. So it's been wonderful.
Amazing. Amazing. So how easy or difficult is it for you to shift gears or change hats from your design and planning business to your associate producer on the role? Or is it really that big of a shift for you?
You know, it's not right now. I don't have an event on the go. I also do marketing and partnership development for West Liberty Financial. And I also have a church flip on the go, a commercial property. So for me right now, like for example, before this call, I was on the phone with a potential sponsor for the show. And then I'm looking at drone video and giving back feedback. So it's not so much difficult, but it is sort of hard to focus on one thing. And unfortunately, I'm guilty of, you know, when you enjoy doing something, that's where your focus goes. That's where my focus goes. So for me, the difficulty is focusing on the things that I don't love doing, parts of the job that I don't love doing. And every job has things that, you know, aren't your favorite. So for me, the difficulty is focusing on those and getting those done, and not always doing the fun parts.
Yeah, we can't always do the fun stuff, right? Sometimes we got to do the shit we don't want to do.
Yeah, like accounting and stuff.
So out of all the hats you wear in terms of your career, which is the most challenging one for you and why?
You know what? I'm going to say HR.
HR?
Finding good people to work with is difficult. You know, I have standards, and I'm a really driven person. So unfortunately, a lot of people fall below that in terms of work ethic, I'm finding. Taking the initiative, you know, when it's not your company, you just don't have the same drive necessarily. Yes. And so I think part of that is making sure that person's future goals are in alignment. But so that's been difficult. And then, you know, it's time consuming to find someone and onboard them and then not have them work out. You know, it's taking time away from what you're doing. Yeah. So across all of the businesses that I've been a part of, I feel like HR and finding good people to work with is the biggest challenge.
I'm sure. So Sabrina, what's the most exciting part for you about being a serial entrepreneur?
The thing that I think I get the most excited about is the fact that I get to choose my direction. Generally, I don't like being told what to do. I think it comes from that. But, you know, listen, it's exciting, but it's also daunting. You know, you don't want to make a mistake, and it's all kind of on you. So there's two sides to that, right? But I'm not sure I could have it any other way.
Yeah, you can't. It's not like you can turn around and blame anyone else if things go wrong.
No,
it's your business. So
exactly. But I kind of like that amount of accountability, because especially if you learn from those lessons, right? Failures are just information. So yeah,
failure is good. I mean, you have to. That's how we learn. So it's also the fact that you don't have to run your decisions by anyone else. It's just you, and you decide, and that's another great thing about it.
Yeah, and I make my own schedule generally, right?
There you
know,
go.
like
see,
when the kids were in school, if I want to go to the gym at 11 o'clock in the morning, I can do that, right? My time is my own, so
that's
I like
right.
That.
So could you tell me, was there a specific moment, a light bulb moment, if you will, when you just knew you had to be an entrepreneur for you?
No.
I
think I was born this way. I really, you know, I feel like I was always destined to be an entrepreneur. I'm a natural leader. When I easily take the reins. I don't have to take them, but when there is no leader, I tend to be the person who steps up.
Yeah.
And I would argue that a lot of entrepreneurs probably feel the same way, that it's sort of always been in them, even if they didn't start out of the gate as an entrepreneur,
right.
that they've probably all been sort of leaders and their whole life has sort of been laddering up to the moment that they would be anyway.
What do you think is your unique skill set or superpower that's helped you become a successful businesswoman, entrepreneur?
It's interesting. And the more of the different types of businesses I work in, this became more apparent to me, that I can really adapt my communication style to different people, different situations. I'm a pretty good read on people, and I can read people's energy and adapt my communication style to them. So that helps me build relationships with people, and that helps me accomplish things, because if you can't communicate well, you find it difficult to move projects and things along, and people get sort of stuck on things that don't matter. So I would say my ability to adapt my communication style is one of the big things. But I'm also incredibly resourceful. Just because something hasn't been done a certain way, or there's no clear path, I'll figure it out and try a bunch of different things.
And blaze that path.
Yeah, exactly. And working hard. And I think, you have to be self-motivated, right? No one's there.
For sure.
No one's watching the clock in at 9 a.m.
Nope.
So, I mean, that was a skill that took a while too, right? Especially if you work from home, being able to motivate yourself as a solopreneur, right? Sometimes it can be very isolating, but sort of honing that craft and really finding the motivation from within is a big deal too. So.
Yeah, being disciplined to get motivated and get done what needs to get done. Otherwise, your business is going nowhere.
Yeah. But sometimes too, is if you love what you do, you can't help it.
Exactly.
When I'm working on something that I love, I can't help but pick up my computer, like as soon as my kids go to bed, or sometimes if we're watching a movie, even like my brain is somewhere else, and I'll be picking up my computer sometimes and doing that. So maybe if you don't have the motivation for long enough, it could be that you've fallen out of love with what you're doing, or maybe you're not in alignment anymore.
Yeah, that's true too. I love what I do. I mean, I've said I don't mind editing images from a shoot at 1 or 2 in the morning and staying up till 3 or 4 editing. It doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like you don't even notice the time passing when you're doing something that you love. So
no, it flies. It
yes,
flies. And I'm not one of those people who are like, oh, I forgot to eat today. But there have been times. I always wish I was one of those people, but I'm not. But there's been times where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like 3:00. I got to eat lunch, So yeah, I love those moments when time flies. It means I'm really into it.
Yeah, for sure. What did you give up to get where you are today? What did you have to sacrifice? Or as I was made aware, don't word it as sacrifice, word it as, because sacrifice, there's almost a negative connotation. So what did you invest to get where you are today?
People have given you a hard time about sacrifice.
Yes. There's a negative connotation. So reword it. But I don't think there's that negative. I mean, we do have to make sacrifices.
There absolutely is sacrifices.
Yeah.
You give up something to get something else. It's sort of like a yin yang thing. I mean,
that's right.
Countless vacations I've had to sacrifice, either not going on them at all because the timing isn't right. Like when you lead a team of 11 people and you have projects on the go, it feels like it's never the right time to go away.
Right.
Or, I can't even think of a vacation where I haven't picked up my computer or brought my laptop and been on it and had to check things every day. So probably like relaxation and peace of mind is something I've had to sacrifice.
Free time for Sabrina.
Yeah. And, too, as a mom, there's, an entrepreneur, there's no such thing as mat leave. So, this whole thing where you get to have your baby and stay home for 18 months and not think about anything but your baby, that was never a reality for me. When we had my daughter, my husband and I had an internet company and we had a lot of staff. And so I was, back at conferences, 6 weeks out, pumping in the bathroom. We had a nanny come in and sort of watch her in a playroom, in the lower level of our office. Cause I was a first time mom. I was nervous about leaving her, on her own. So all of that stuff, I would stage a house and I had my second son in a pack and play while I'm like lugging furniture around a house. So yeah, giving up that time or being able to indulge in that mat leave time, I didn't get to enjoy that.
Wow, that's determination and drive, though. Holy shit! Wow. What's something you failed at?
Oh gosh, how long do we have? I failed at so many things. I mean, just in addition to businesses, there's been some failed relationships, just failed, moments I would probably do over. I consider those sort of failures too. But I think, business failures are tough, especially when there's a lot of money lost in them, or when things don't go right and you've invested a lot of time and years into things.
Yeah.
But I've learned a lot. So I wouldn't trade them, sort of going to the school of hard knocks. But I've had some business failures and some personal failures, of course.
What are some of the challenges you faced early on as an entrepreneur, and how did you overcome them?
So, my first go at being an entrepreneur was my event planning company. And for me at the time, it was like finding customers who want to give you their business, even though they might be the first, second, or third person.
Yeah.
So it's hard to show, hey, I can do this. I know I can, when you don't really have pictures of other events that you've done. You don't,
Yeah.
And when I launched in 2009, there was no social media. I mean, there was Facebook,
yes.
barely. But it was different. Like there was no way, if you were having an event, you couldn't just post on social media and build up an audience and get the word out there. That wasn't an option.
Yeah.
So I would say gaining traction, and getting new clients, is the hardest part for sure at the beginning.
Okay. Let's go down a not so serious path and ask some simple, just personal, more on the personal side questions, just to get to know a little bit more about Sabrina, the person, as opposed to the businesswoman.
Okay.
What sound or noise do you absolutely love?
Oh, God. What sound do I love? I love the sound of my kids laughing, or people laughing in general. Makes me laugh.
Laughter.
And music. I'm a big music fan, so music that I like.
What type of stuff do you like to listen to?
So I'm kind of like a house beats girl. I was kind of a clubber back in the day, so I like things like that. Things that make me want to dance, but I'm also into this, like what I do now in the morning when I wake up and journal or read. I have this ambient music playlist on Spotify. Okay. I should send it to you. It's really great, and it's just very vibey and chill. And so I'm kind of into that too.
Yeah, definitely send me that. I'd like to check that out for sure. What is one of your favorite words?
My favorite word. I don't know. Lovely. I say that a lot. That's lovely. I don't think I have a favorite word. Okay.
What are you not very good at?
I get distracted easily. I'm going to say focus, my mental focus. I could really up my game in my mental focus game. I think it has a lot to do with, having so many things on the go.
Yeah.
But even, just being able to focus more is something that I'm not super good at.
If you could have one superpower, what would that be?
I feel like maybe the ability to fly. I like to travel.
Travel's always good for sure.
Yeah, is that on the table? Yeah, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I can go, visit different countries quickly and then get back. I wouldn't have to go through the long trek to get there.
Lineups at the airport, customs and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
What is a passion of yours that you rarely share with people, and why not?
I like to sing, and I don't share it because I'm not very good at it. But I love to sing. I sing a lot in my house. I find myself singing all the time. I sing to my kids a lot. So instead of asking them to put on their shoes, or if it's something that's like an ongoing thing that they don't do, I just sing out instructions to them, and it puts them in a better mood. It's true.
I love it.
And so it puts them in a better mood. It puts me in a better mood. And then they sing along. So now we have songs for different things that I get them to do.
Excellent. Hey, it gets them motivated to do stuff. That's great. Exactly. You're killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah, they know the song. They start singing it, and they start doing it.
I love it. Can you share a situation that's occurred in your life that you feel provides insight as to your character, who you are?
Man, I don't know. I feel like there's all points in how you carry yourself and the integrity that you have sort of point to your character. I can't really pinpoint one experience. But I would just say that I try to live my life in line with my values. And that's something that's taken work. When when you've done something that's outside of your value system, you feel really shitty about it.
Yeah.
And it's something that kind of bugs you forever, or like you'll be somewhere and you think about it and you're kind of like, oh, like you've grown on the inside about just how it went down. And so I hate those feelings. And so I try to live my life in line with my values. So, so I sleep well at night.
Excellent. That's important. What would you say is one of your favorite quotes?
There's so many good, especially on Instagram. It's like quote heaven.
Yes, it is.
And I love so many, and I'm screen grabbing and trying to share, but maybe not my favorite one, but something I heard recently was, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And so, saying no to things that don't light me up anymore, both professionally and personally. As a people pleaser, you want to say yes to a lot of things. Yeah. And even as an entrepreneur, you always hear like, there's no bad opportunity, right? Like, because something that's not a big opportunity could then ladder up to a bigger opportunity. So you're always sort of open to all the things because you don't want to close any doors or, cut off any path. But as you get older, obviously, and you have kids, like I don't have time for everything. So now it's less about, will this bring me money or introduce me to people? It's more about, will I love doing it? Does it light me up, or is it going to drain me? So that's sort of my filter now.
I think too, though, as entrepreneurs, when we're first starting out, it's hard to say no, because you want to take every job because that means money coming in when you're first starting your business. And you have a lot of trouble saying no to jobs that you probably shouldn't take, but you do just because you're getting business. It's interest.
And then think about how many times you've taken on a job that was maybe, not as much money as you should have made or whatever, too small of a job. But then that turned into someone else saw that, or you know what I mean? Those can,
very true.
Those can move on to other things. So,
Well, money, I don't know. Money's not everything. I think when you first start out, it's the main focus because you're just starting out. But I think as you get further along in your business, as you said, as you get older, your values change, and money isn't the be all for a business. It's like what you said, it's taking jobs and doing things that really light you up, that inspire you, that make you want to do your best.
Yeah. It's funny. I gave advice to somebody recently, and she designs cake toppers, and she's a logo designer in general. She does non-confectionery things too. And she had started a shop on Etsy, and she's like, I'm so busy. Like, I'm so happy because this is what I wanted, but I'm so busy and I can't take on all these orders. She's so stressed about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a great problem to have. You know why? It means that you can now charge more for your services.
Right.
Instead of taking 25 jobs at $10 for easy numbers sake, you can now take 10 jobs at $50.
That's right.
Right? Because you have the demand. You have enough people flowing in that now you can increase your prices. Yes, you'll lose a few of them, but that's okay because you don't need them all anymore.
That's right.
So it's just a different way of maybe undervaluing yourself at the beginning too.
Yeah, sure. You have the ability to select the clients you want to work with, which is great when you get to that point. What does the word empowerment mean to you?
The word empowerment means to me to give someone the ability and the courage to make their own choices. That's sort of what that means to me.
Okay. Now, speaking of empowerment and women's empowerment and you being a female entrepreneur, do you think that the word and the whole women's empowerment movement has been kind of overused and watered down by the media and we as people, like just spewing it just because it's the buzzword or the catchphrase? Or do you think it still holds meaning and value, or has it been overstated, you think?
I don't think it's overused necessarily, but I do think there's some sort of there's a stigma around it a little bit. Women's empowerment has this feeling of like women's lib with like a fist in the air.
Yeah.
But it's really about, women knowing and believing that they matter.
Yeah.
that, they have the right to choose their own life path, and that their passions and their desires are just as important as their partners, or caring for your kids and being a mom, or being a good daughter. So I think that it's not overused, but some people have a certain feeling about it. And I think that's the part that needs to change.
Right. Now, you said you have 2 kids. Do you have girls, boys, or mix?
I have a girl and then a boy. They're 17 months apart.
Okay. So they're young. What do you do to teach them about empowerment, self-empowerment, and things like that?
We haven't fully got to that stage right now.
Right.
We're like, don't hit your sister,
Yeah.
make your bed, little things like that. But I have started the conversation with my daughter, she's 5, about the fact that she can do anything she wants in life.
Yeah.
That she just has to decide what she wants to do. And her job is to figure out what she wants to do next. She doesn't have to know what she wants to do for the rest of her life, but she has to know, she has to figure out what she wants to do next, and just removing the limitations, because I feel like we ourselves put limitations on ourselves, but people around us put limitations on us too. And so just not, falling victim to that. I'm hoping to do that for her.
Do you think it's more important to instill those values in our young girls as opposed to boys right now in these times?
Well, I think, there's been so much talk about, when a woman goes after what she wants, she's called a bad mom, or she's aggressive.
Yeah. Right?
When a man goes after what he wants, they call him powerful, and dedicated, or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's just a different feeling behind it. I'm going to empower both of my kids to go after what they want, especially if it's not mainstream, right?
Yeah.
I think that's sometimes what's hard if you don't follow that typical path, which I feel like is breaking down. You go to high school, you go to university, you get a job, you get married, you have kids, blah, blah, blah. That whole path is being broken into a million pieces, which I think is great, because it doesn't fit most people. And gone are the days where you go into a job and you're there for 25 years and then you retire. That doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
So I just want to empower my kids to follow their hearts and go after what makes them happy. Because in the end, that's what you want. You just want your kids to be happy.
Absolutely. Of course. What would you say is the best advice you've ever received? Or one piece of great advice you've received? Yeah.
A piece of advice I was given, and that has just seemed to show up for me, and I didn't learn the lesson the first, second, third, fourth time, was when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Okay. I think a lot of people, when you see somebody, you see their potential versus what they're actually doing. You see the version of them they can be.
Yeah.
But if they're not showing up as that version, and they're giving you what they're giving you, you have to take that, and that's who they are. So yeah.
Okay. Now, I know we spoke about success a little bit. How do you define success? What does that word mean to you?
The first thing you go to is, financial success, business success, but really there's a lot of happy, miserable, rich people. So having the freedom and the ability to do the things that you love in life, and to feel a sense of contentment, accomplishment, for me, that's how I would define success.
I love it. Do you currently have any big projects that you're working on or coming down the pike that you'd like to share with the audience?
I feel like there's so many things.
Share away, please.
There's lots going on. Some exciting things with Red Knight Studios Company, which is the production company that does the social movement. Can't share, but I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited for all the possibilities. It's exciting.
If you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like?
It kind of has to do with regret. One day, if you're lucky, you'll be old and sitting in your retirement home. 95% of your life will be behind you. And, what will you look back on? What kind of life are you going to look back on? Are you going to look back on it? Will it make you smile, for all the experiences and deep human connections that you made in life? Or will you look back and will you be filled with regret? of all the times you didn't tell people how much you love them, or the fun times you didn't have, or the years you wasted in the wrong job, not doing the thing you knew you were passionate about. We all have like these reasons why we're not doing what we love, and the things you tell yourself now about why you can't: no time, no money, so-and-so won't like it, I'm not pretty enough. But all those things won't matter. And you'll just be left this old person with all of these coulda, woulda, shouldas. So I try to think of that old version of myself often. And I try to use that visual when I make decisions, and when I sort of need a shove or a push outside of my comfort zone. So I really just encourage people to do the same thing. What will your future super old person self wish you would have done?
I love that. I've never thought about it. That's a great way to look at it, and great way to motivate. What would you say to someone then who speaking of, well, I don't have the time, or I don't have the money to start my own business, or this making excuses about starting their own business? What would you say to someone who is out there that wants to start their own business, but just can't get out of their own way, get the hell out of their own head to do it?
I would say that you don't want it bad enough. There's people out there with less money, less brains, less time, doing what you want to do and taking steps towards doing the thing that they want to do. You don't have to know how to do the whole thing. You just have to know your next step. We live in an age where you can Google and YouTube anything. You can figure everything out. So if you know where you want to go, break that end goal down into steps. Figure out what your first step needs to be. Do you need to acquire more skills? Start there. Do you need to acquire, and even sometimes putting yourself in that community. If you're trying to shift jobs, put yourself into that new community so you can see what other people are talking about, and, feel it a little bit more around you, and it'll start to feel a little bit more real.
I love it. Gary Vee has said, I've heard him say that right now is probably the greatest time on earth to be alive, because we have access to so much, to be able to do so much. If you want to start a business, everything's there at your fingertips. Whereas when our parents were growing up, they didn't have the accessibility or the ease to start a business. So now is the time to do shit.
100%. You can figure everything out, and you can make any change that you want. You just have to decide you want to do it, and put aside the excuses. If you have time to scroll Instagram or watch a minute of TV, then you have time to put towards your passion project.
I love it. Thank you so much, Sabrina, for being a guest today and sharing your journey, your many businesses, your insights. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, and I appreciate you taking the time to share with us and walk us through a bit of your journey and story as an entrepreneur.
Thank you. And I just want to say I appreciate what you're doing. The fact that a man has decided to make it his mission to empower women is definitely not something that is typical. So I applaud you for that.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate those kind words. It's been a pleasure chatting with you today. Once again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of your Empowerography podcast. Today, my guest has been Sabrina Sigalas. She is the founder of Sigalas & Co., as well as the associate producer of The Social Movement. Thanks again for being here, Sabrina. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.